This is the Alpine A110. You might call it Alpine depending on what vintage you are, but that's okay by me. It's my job today to have a little look around it, and we're going to take it on a spin around the Curragh racecourse here today where the roads are clear, the sun is shining. Is there a more perfect day for testing a proper sports car? Sometimes car companies get together and they make beautiful babies. In this case, Renault and Nissan. It feels a bit more like Renault on the inside, and we'll get to all that later, but just look at the absolute gorgeous lines of it. It's got a bit of a Porsche vibe going on around the back of it, flared wheel arches like an Aston Martin, not to mention the rear lights which also scream DB9. It is an absolute sight to behold. A big fat exhaust right in the centre of the rear diffuser says this is something a bit different. And if you're comfortable with a hot hatch that goes really, really fast, well, you're going to love this because it's got the same engine as the Renault Megane RS. You would be forgiven for thinking it's come straight from Italy because it's that gorgeous until you see the French flag dotted in various places around the car and the Alpine badge across the front. But apart from that, you'd have no idea what this car is. Every sports car needs a gorgeous face. That might be a bit subjective. It needs lines and angles and creases and massively flared rear wheel arches, which this car has it all. Look at the lines on it. Look at the slopes on it. This totally reminds me of a Porsche. I know it's only a fuel cap, but like that's straight off their GT. And then the back of it. It's like every good sports car needs a gorgeous bum, and this has it. It's like a baby version of an Aston Martin. It's like they're DB9 lights, just maybe not as wide, but still absolutely gorgeous to look at. So totally impractical, but beautiful, which is exactly what every sports car should be. Let's not talk about the fact that the car comes with a pouch of oil in the back, just in case it uses it. Now, this looks totally unopened, and it's in a lovely little Renault bag. It even has Alpine on it, look. It's Alpine oil. It smells of the Alpines. Now, when you get into the money price of this car and you sit into it and you say, okay, this is from a Renault Clio and this switches from a Nissan because it's a Nissan Renault Alliance. And yeah, the carbon fibre isn't real, of course it's not, and there's a few questionable plastics. But if you think of cars that aren't premium sports cars, so forget about your Porsches, and do you know what, I wouldn't say forget about Ferrari or Lamborghini. Think of those cars. There's nothing too fancy. In a Lamborghini you'd have the same stalks as an Audi A1. And think of all the, I suppose, Italian and French sports cars over the years where they don't have the nicest interiors. And isn't that kind of the point? Or maybe I'm just talking myself into it. I don't know. But when you get in here and you see the switchgear for the climate and stuff and the radio that is straight out of a Dacia, that's where you might go, it's €80,000. Or you might go, yeah, but it's a sports car and I'll totally tolerate it. And I'm not sure which camp you'd be in. There is a little box thing in here that you can store like baguettes or something in there. I don't mean that in a French kind of way, I just mean because the size kind of way. The cup holder is back here. It's like possible to reach, and the USB inputs down here are also pretty hard to reach. There's no armrests. The cruise control again of previous generation Renaults, it's here, and then there's a button here, but then you're going to hit the speed limiter by mistake the first time. I do like the fact that there's a little holder here because it needs it when you're going around corners for your phone. So you just slot that in there. It looks like a glove box. It sounds like a glove box. It doesn't deserve to be on that stage because it's not actually a glove box. And then you've a little bit of some leather here, and you know, the stitching patch there is all right. The screen is absolutely tiny. The heated seats are not on the dashboard, they're on the sides of the seats, and these bolsters on the side kind of block your view. So you'll turn that on and in a while you'll feel it's warm, but you can't actually see what you've selected. So all of a sudden then everything gets hot, but you're looking over the side of the window almost to try and reach around and find the button. It's in a weird place. Then there's some other practical stuff, like you can actually adjust the steering and the seat can be adjusted, and even if you're tall Apparently the owner of the company is like 6'7" or something, so that's gone in people's favours because there's actually, like, you'd want to be very tall not to be able to work in this. So a really impractical in some ways sports car that can also take really tall people and has lots of adjustment. That's definitely a plus point. As glorious as the Alpine A110 is, when you're following the footsteps of a classic from the 60s and 70s, you're always going to be a little bit nervous that you haven't managed to get it right. So we're going to find out in this video if Renault stroke Nissan have. What the? What's this about? That's Bob Flavin. What's?
How are you?
Bob, how are you? What's?
I heard you were filming out here in the car. Someone said there's a blue car, so I had to come and have a look. This is like my home territory.
Well, I thought I might bump into you. That's why I'm here so early to try and get out before you came along. What's?
Yeah, come out to film the Golf GTI. This is a Clubsport. There's a duster in the middle of it. She has the same infotainment you have.
I'm trying to do a sports car and you're coming up slagging off my car, bringing dassies into it, and you've got a GTI Clubsport. What the?
Compare her interior to your Renault interior.
So you just got to do a drive-by.
So, but look what I really brought. Look at my beautiful 300 horsepower, more than you have.
Yeah, but this is 1,200 kilos.
Yeah, but I have 5 seats.
Yeah, but like, this is a sports car. That's a Golf.
We have to review one against the other.
That's probably an R line with a red strip on the front or something.
It's got a light bar. There's a little light in there too at night time. It's really cool. Super cool. Proper cool car. Not like that.
Gorgeous looking piece of French motoring.
It's a Dacia in a dress. It's a Renault Clio in a dress.
It's not a Renault Clio.
Ah, it is. Look at the switchgear.
Clio 172. They made a fantastic car.
Is this true? This true. They make good cars, but it's still a Renault.
So you bring a Golf.
Yep.
And there's a bit of Irish in this, so I'll explain later on in the video. Okay, well, let's jump in for a spin then, and I have a funny feeling who's going to win. You're sitting millimeters off the ground. The steering, as soon as you touch it, it's gone in whatever direction you want it to go in. Yet it's still quite stable at motorway speeds. You can lash on your cruise control and kind of just, you know, disappear into the background of the journey. But then you've sport mode. And I mean, that is what you're paying for. Yes, it's 80 bloody grand. But like, you know, you're dead long enough. And if you are a true petrol head, then like the gear changes, whatever they've done in the 7-speed automatic gearbox in this, it's not always the case, but in this Alpine, there is, to my seat of the pants feeling, no difference between those gear changes and the DSG gearbox that you'll find in Bob's car. There is no difference in speed. I'd nearly say this might actually be quicker. And there's a nice boom when it changes gear. My God, does it handle. Like, this is a proper thoroughbred sports car. And yeah, it's going to be very hard to find something on the road that handles quite like this. The pops, the bangs when you lift off. It is a truly, truly full-on, enjoyable car to... Like, come on! How can you not have a smile on your face driving something like this? It's brilliant fun. Absolute, a blast of a car. The brakes are really good. They bite sharply. And it's not overly harsh like that. To make the car handle like this, proper roadster like, and inches off the ground on 18-inch alloy wheels and still very comfortable to drive in, that's an achievement. It's just when you look at cars, for example, in your rear view mirror, and you see how quickly they are just seeming like they're going backwards. It's no shove in the back of the seat. It's just how much forward momentum the car can do in seconds. In gear acceleration, that is really spectacular. There's nothing augmented about that. That is a proper actual, that's all engine. If you are looking for a sports car that is a little bit more raw, a little bit more rough around the edges than, let's say, a Porsche, then it has to be on your list. If you're someone who's always lusted after things like Lotuses, then this is a good comparison. It's like one of those cars you sit into and it gives you all this performance and this handling, and then when you wanted to wear an expensive dress, it's gone, I'm not really into that, sorry, but I look this good, so take me or leave me. You know, that's the kind of attitude that this car would 100% get away with. The fun factor is always there, it's always on. And if for some really weird reason you're not in the mood someday, well, it can play that way too. And I absolutely love it. Listen to those pops. When you slow down and drops the gear, it's like... Cars are meant to be fun, right? This car is fun.
So I'm sure at this stage that Mark has told you just how good his little Dacia is, right? You know, that little Renault Alpine that's there that looks really brilliant and really has great weight per ton or some sort of a horsepower thing that's been talked about or whatever. But it's a mid-engined, 2-seat sports car. So I've got to forgive some of the things because it's actually exceptionally handsome and beautiful in all its lines. If you're going to pay mid-50s for a car, this is where you want to be. Golf GTI Clubsport, 300 horses under the bonnet, 2-litre petrol engine, all you need every day. But it has 5 seats, it has a boot, it has an ability to do a lap time, it even has a lap timer. It's got everything for you to be a supercar. Whenever you feel like it on any drive, you can just mash your foot pedal all the way to the floor. Smug face, it's 300 horses, it rocks, it rips the road up. That's exactly what you want in all these kind of cars. Telling you the Golf GTI is all you'll ever need as a car. The Alpine is fantastic looking, and as a weekend car, yes, definitely. But I will put one caveat on this. If you were looking at a 2-car garage, if you were looking at something you wanted to have for yourself and, you know, have a little weekend car drive around in, you could do a lot worse than these 2 cars, because, you know, Mark's car is a really crisp looking machine, a really cool little thing you just zip away, maybe with the other half in the passenger seat for a weekend. You're going to need a bloody small bag, or you're going to need a footman to carry along with some bags after you. But realistically, this is just a practical 5-door hot hatch, and Mark has an impractical 2-seat mid-engined sports car. And for that, I love it, but also because of the price. The Alpine's up around 80 grand, give or take. This, mid-50s. That's a big price difference.
We need to settle this once and for all. So we've had to pull over just to argue this one out.
Can't argue this one out. Look at the Golf GTI Clubsport. Now, this is different from an ordinary Golf GTI. You got more horsepower, 300 horses under that from a 2-litre petrol, which means you can drive it every day. So if you keep this in eco mode, you're going to get about 6 to 7 litres per 100 kilometres, which is very nice. If you go into GTI mode, look, forget it, you're just going to empty your wallet into fuel tank. But that doesn't really matter, that's okay, because that's why you're buying the GTI. You get these lovely alloy wheels, they're fairly standard. There's a bit of sheep poo on that one, but don't worry about it. I'm not sure about this bit, the kind of stripy, stickery thing down the side. I know what distinguishes it as a club sport, but I'm not too sure whether it adds something to the car or takes something away, actually. This bit here is very obviously Golf 7, 7.5 or 7.95, you want to call it that. And then you come around to the back of the car, which is classic Volkswagen Golf. Does nothing wrong. This car does nothing wrong. Handles incredibly well, drives very well, 5 full seats inside, big boot on the back of the car as well. So it's a practical, proper hatchback car you use every day, but when you want to, you can set yourself a lap time as well and you have a bit of fun across the back roads. And on the inside of this as well, you get a proper cabin, these beautiful seats. You get a really good heads-up display, but the infotainment system leaves a bit to be desired, because whether it's on or off or whatever it's doing, it just seems to be a little bit laggy and a little bit kind of, you know, you press buttons and not much happens, as you can see there when I'm doing that. It takes a long time for that stuff to kind of boot up. The rest of the car is good. These touch screens, when you touch your hands on them at all, you change something. That's a bit of a problem. But for a driver's car, it's very driver focused. Where you're sitting here, you got these little flappy paddles on the back for doing your stuff. Everything works perfectly well, and you can see everything on the heads-up display in front of you in this little instrument binnacle. Works really well. The mid-50s, right?
Yeah.
And then you get, there's a four-wheel drive, there's a Golf 4, but the Clubsport is the one I actually kind of like. This is 5 doors, 5 seats. It's just a Golf that goes very quickly,
Yeah.
but it's very, very capable car. Which is where I fall apart on this, because there's only 2 seats in this, and we've seen the boot, well, front boot and the rear boot, which are both. But you do get the cool thing of saying it's a mid-engine sports car. Like
It is a mid-engine. Like, there's no doubt people who are into their Golfs, their fast Golfs, will look at that. Everyone looks at this.
Yep.
It's
It's
just
very
like,
to park anywhere.
what's
and
that? But it is totally impractical. As I showed you on the video, the cup holder is like behind you. You're doing like some sort of weird reach around thing to get you, and then you're going to spill it all over yourself. The indicators are out of a Renault Clio. The key is ridiculous. Like the key
would make me walk away. I hate those card keys, because look what you're doing
Where have I-
already. He's lost it already. Look, he's lost it already.
Here,
Renault, really.
like you get it. That's a Renault Clio is the same key.
I always end up putting it in a pocket, and there's some other card in there, or I put it on a shelf, or it disappears between the 2 seats and just vanishes.
Yeah.
So that's always a problem
Yeah.
with those car jokes.
It needs a tracking device of its own on that.
But it is gorgeous to look at. The first one's went on fire, didn't it?
Someone actually asked me about that. Yeah.
It's the one thing to remember, because it was on Top Gear, so there's one thing that'll be remembered by this car.
Chris Harris loved it.
Yep. When it wasn't on fire, he loved it, yeah.
It wasn't on fire. I mean, I love that they give you oil in the boot. Maybe they should give you a little fire extinguisher as
That
well.
would terrify me, to know that they give you oil in the boot. I'd always be questioning, what's that for? When? At what point?
A top up.
Do I
That's
use it?
no any performance car worth its salt.
That doesn't burn oil.
I don't know if it does. I haven't had it long enough, but I don't. There's no weird smells. There's no nothing. It is a totally impractical car. It is a car that. If you had loads and loads of money, you might have it in your garage for blast of the weekend. Brake horsepower per ton, like this is going to win every day.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Until you want to drive any more than one other person with you.
Yeah, but
back
like
seats then.
one other person, that just adds weight. And when you touch, when you touch the steering wheel, even just the slightest millimetre, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's amazing.
It is awesome. But if you're looking at two prices of things, this is nearly 40 grand cheaper. You know, you're starting to, you get more horsepower, more practicality, more, like if you're looking at two cars, if you're not going to collect this and put it into a garage during a week and then take it on a weekend for a blast, you just want a practical daily car that's a hell of a lot cheaper. You can't ignore that.
No, you can't argue with that.
It's like a foot taller.
It is hard. When you're getting into this, you kind of just, you open the door and you lean this way and you plonk your arse in and you hope for the best you're going to land on something that doesn't go into you.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Having said that, driving down here to meet you today, with the cruise control on the motorway, doing 120 kilometres an hour, it's quite composed, it's not overly firm. The Megane RS in full-on sport mode,
Yeah.
it's like,
It is, yeah.
and it's a very, like, it's the same engine.
You wouldn't think it was a Renault. You don't think you're buying a Renault here. You
No.
think you're buying something completely different. And if you really want to stand up the road, no one else in the country is going to have one of these things. It's going to be really rare when you turn up to anywhere.
And we got to talk about the back. I mean, the lights are like Aston Martins.
They are, yeah.
This is obviously totally ripped off from Porsche.
Oh, totally, yeah, across the back. Even the back window, the whole back window comes straight, I think, from like 911 type look to it.
In the rearview mirror, you can see the little fibres of hair on the parcel shelf moving. So there's fresh air. Now there is definitely fresh air coming in here to cool the engine.
Yeah.
But it also somehow makes its way in
It's
here as
inside
well.
the cabin as well.
And it means you can hear, like I know so many cars have augmented sounds. This is actually real sound just coming through.
I can feel real heat coming out of it.
Oh yeah, like
proper heat there.
you can hear fans and stuff for 10 minutes after still doing their magic.
That's because the engine is literally in the cabin with you. Like this
Yeah.
isn't separate behind big firewalls.
Which is
at the front of the
exactly
cabin.
what you want.
It is, yeah. Because it adds all the weight to the middle of the car.
Let me get this really flimsy key out again and just the boot.
Or your boot, your boot. I'll show you my boot. With my 5-door hatchback boot, which is,
What the hell is?
look at that, I open it in one go. See that? Easy. Oh, there it goes. Your shelf.
It's a shelf. Like it is absolutely.
You can't even, yeah.
You could
can't
use it as a
remember
jacks.
What you want is on a little Ford bucket. You know the bucket thing that's in the Puma? Put that inside it.
What's that called again?
I can't remember what you call that thing now.
A something box. That's a funny name.
Yeah, it's
though.
a box thing. It's, yeah,
It sounds like something they're giving away on a chipper on Wednesdays. What's it
not it.
called?
It's like snack box or something.
Yes. So you do actually have bits of. I mean, you'd get an overnight bag in the front, no doubt about it.
Yep.
In there, I don't know. You'd put your toothbrush in there or something.
You would. You get something in it. Then you have a 5-door hatch boot, which is
Yeah, you're going to win there. It's like
just a huge thing. Because it's a Golf. Like the problem is, I suppose, if you're looking for GTI, you're not looking at that thing, right?
no.
But if you're looking at that thing, and you want 2 cars, you could have this plus another car for the price of that.
Probably buy a second-hand Lotus, which
There's
is
actually a
kind
good
of.
point to that, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of really what you're feeling like. You know, there is comparisons of this car with Caymans, but I don't see it.
I don't see it either. In the back of your mind, you're still saying, I'm buying a Renault.
With that same logic, there'd be no Alfa Romeos. People wouldn't buy weird spiders. They wouldn't buy.
You buy an Audi.
You wouldn't buy.
Because you're buying a Volkswagen.
Yeah,
It's a purist car.
100%. Yeah.
If you're a purist petrol head, you're going to adore that thing. In GTI mode or sports mode, as they call it inside, it just leaves everything else for dead, makes great bangs and crackles and noises.
Is there any point in going for the now very expensive Golf R over that?
No, I don't think. Because 4-wheel drive is going to empty your pocket into the fuel tank for a start, right? And you're never really going to use all of that extra. It's 330 horsepower on a Golf R. It's only 30 horsepower more, but it actually makes a big difference. But you're never really going to see it on the road. You're only ever going to use this, and this is squirmy and nice and sits down.
Yeah.
When you want to overtake something, just wheels kind of squirm to it. There's a bit of an edginess to it on a GTI. And I think GTI, the standard one, will actually fulfill all the needs you really want. But someday you'll sit at a traffic lights in the standard GTI and the Clubsport will pull up beside you and you'll be sorry you didn't buy it.
And I do think that just the normal Mark 8 GTI, it doesn't pop, it doesn't bang.
No, it's not enough.
Whereas the Focus, the Megane Trophy, they all do that. So now if you want the Golf that will do that, that's the one you need.
Definitely. And it stands out in the crowd. And if you know what your cars, you could debadge this pretty handy as well. If you know your cars, you're going to know that this is a GTI Clubsport just by looking at it.
If it was a Sunday afternoon, the sun was shining like it is now, we'd both be in this.
Yes.
For the other 363 days of the year, or 4, a lot of the time it might be the Golf. And one thing I haven't told you till now, an Irish guy pretty much designed this car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go away.
He also worked on the original Qashqai and something else.
Jesus.
He's left now though.
Oh.
But still.
I could have got him on for an interview.
Yeah. And he said this car will never kill you.
Oh, yeah?
Well, might put that to the test.
Try that.
Thank you for coming this far with the video. You should check out Bob's channel.
Yeah.
But he's way more subscribers than me, so thanks for being here first as well.
You'll get there.
He has hoodies.
Oh, yeah. I have merch. You can buy merch. BobFlavin.com.
I think it's time for a little blast,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.